Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey everybody, how you doing? Just give me a second before we get started. This video has a lot of moving parts, just like a lot of stuff to keep track of, and I just want to go down this list before we get started. Okay, so we have Barry, check. Cloneberry, check. Wall scroll, check. CGP Grey hoodie, check. That's very essential. Clipboard, check. Clipboard mustache, check. Light switch mustache, check. Checklist, check. Okay, and let's see what we got going on back here. Let's see. Well, what do you guys think? What do you think how I can make this work? I could move my knight, but no, then he could just take me with the king. And then the rook, too. Man, that'd be a really stupid move to do that. But I could... Wait, no. Couldn't I just move my queen to... Boom! There you go! Check! Alright, cool. Alright, so I think we got all the checks that we needed. We're good to go. Okay. That was the stupidest joke that required a decent amount of effort. I had to go into my closet, take out the chessboard, set it all up and everything for that one joke. But you know what? I think I stuck the landing on that one. I think it worked out pretty good. All right, so this one is a simple question about the 4 blues of One Piece. We're not talking about the Grand Line today, okay? Everybody's always talking about the Grand Line. Paradise in the New World, the Pirate Graveyard, all of that stuff. I get that like 95% of the story takes place on the Grand Line, but today we're talking about the 4 blues. North, South, East, and West. There. North, South, East, and West. That's what we're talking about today, of course. I already did Geography is Everything videos on all the different blues and who lives there and the islands that we know about and everything. We just had that world map revealed in that Rurubu One Piece travel guide, so I talked about that last week. But an interesting question popped into my head last night, and it kind of just... It started off as like a simple question, but then it devolved or evolved, I guess, into this really complicated maze that I ended up in with this giant checklist, okay? This wasn't just for the joke. This is an actual thing, okay? This is a list, and I'll throw up reference tables so you guys can see it. But this is a list of everybody of note that comes from each of the 4 blues, okay? And so here's the North Blue, here's the South Blue, here's the East Blue, and here's the West Blue. Okay, we'll get back to those as we go throughout the video. And the question that I have for you guys right here out of the gate is, how would you rank the 4 blues? That honestly seems like an easy enough question, right? First off, there's one that's already taken care of for you because it was actually explained in the story by Mihawk that the East Blue is the weakest out of the 4 oceans, okay? He said that when he was fighting Zoro. He was kind of impressed by Zoro's skill, or he had kind of heard that Zoro was like the strongest swordsman in the East, but he says this is the weakest of the 4 blues, so you're kind of just like a big fish in a small pond. Let me show you how big the world really is. And then Zoro really was just completely obliterated by Mihawk. He honestly had no chance. Mihawk really could have finished him off with just that little necklace, that little pendant knife he had, but he decided, you know, okay, Zoro is at least worthy of Yoru. He's kind of shown his mettle as a swordsman, at least that much, so I'll finish him off with my Kokuto, my Black Blade. But Mihawk said that the East Blue was the weakest. It was also explained much later during a flashback with Garp that, I think it was the scene, it might have been actually in the Strong World OVA, it was the scene when Sengoku and Garp were facing off against Shiki, when Shiki broke into Marineford after he found out that Roger was captured and everything. He thought that Roger was going to be executed at Marineford, so he was going to break in and I guess like either rescue Roger so he could fight him again, or, you know, just execute Roger himself. I don't know, but at any rate, Shiki burst into Marineford, and Sengoku and Garb had to explain to Shiki that Roger wasn't even there. He was actually going to be executed at Logtown in the East, and the reason for that was, the reason why the King of the Pirates was not executed at Marine HQ, rather some random town in the East, was because, yes, that was where Roger was from, but that wasn't the main reason. The main reason was the East Blue has been a symbol of peace and harmony in the world. It might be regarded as the weakest of the oceans, but peaceful is another way of describing it. The Marines figured if they just execute the King of the Pirates there, then that's going to be a symbol for the peace to come in the world. Of course, they had no idea that Roger was going to do the whole, "Hey, mateys, you want my treasure?" Sure, Pirate King. Well, you can have it. Do you know where it is? No, where is it? It's in the Grand Line. You're just gonna have to find it. And then, yeah! And everyone's like, no! So it kind of backfired on the Marines in that one particular instance, but it has been explained multiple times throughout the story the East Blue is the weakest, or the most harmonious, I suppose. So if you're going to rank East Blue as the lowest, where would you put the other blues? I often put the North Blue as the strongest one, because a lot of really strong supernovas came from there. Law, Drake, Hawkins, they all came from the North. The Germa double sixes in the North. Doflamingo's crew pretty much all came from the North. So I regarded the North Blue as the strongest, East Blue as the weakest, and maybe it goes like North and then West, because the North and West Blues kind of bordered the New World, and that's really dangerous area. And then maybe it would go South Blue as the third, and then East Blue as the fourth. That's the way I just threw it out there when I was just thinking about it, not really putting a lot of thought into my how I arrived at that conclusion. Okay. Then I actually sat down and I thought, all right, what if you took everybody of note from these four blues and you kind of like laid them all down in a reference table and you looked at them and their bounties and their power levels or whatever, and you tried to actually objectively calculate which one has the strongest, or the strongest people were born in this one particular sea. All right? And that was the thing that led me down the labyrinth, so to speak, okay? Because there's a lot of characters in One Piece. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there's a lot of damn characters in this story, okay? Like, a bunch. And then, I also had the problem of trying to figure out, like, which characters were born in a particular ocean, and which characters just lived in an ocean for a majority of their lives. Because even if you go on the wiki and you pull up like a list of like, here's everybody from the east, here's everybody from the north, sometimes more than one character will like exist in both of those oceans. So like Ace, for example, okay? Porcus D. Ace was born in the South Blue, but he grew up and spent most of his life in his formative years in the East Blue. So how do you count that? I counted it just based on your birth, okay? Because that's the idea of like which sea produces the strongest warriors, okay? Or the strongest battle power comes from one particular ocean. That's what I based it on, okay? So Porcus D. Ace, I put him in the South Blue. Doflamingo was a big one because I'm like, Doflamingo's entire crew at Spider Miles, that was in the North Blue. But wait a second. Let's just wait a second here, Barry. Doflamingo was not born in the North Blue. No, he wasn't. He was born at Marijois. Same thing with Roshinate. He was a celestial dragon. They both were. So they were born in Marijois, in the Holy Land. Now, the majority of Doflamingo's crew, such as Treble, Diamante, Virgo, Lao G, they all came from the north. But Doflamingo himself did not come from the north. And he's not going to be included here because he didn't come from one of the blues. So that was the thing. Like, there was a lot of characters that you could see a lot of things I had to, like, scratch out. I basically just wrote down every character and then had to go through and double check to see where they were from. So this took a while to get this list up. Smoker, we assume Smoker, the first time we see him is during Logtown, which is in the east, so we assume he's from the east. There was even that anime episode that showed Smoker growing up as a little kid in Logtown in the East Blue, but no, that was anime only. It was confirmed in a Vivre card, and thank God for the Vivre cards, because those really helped me out trying to figure out where all these characters were from. According to the Vivre card, Smoker was from the Grand Line, so he was born in the Grand Line. Now, Tashigi is from the east, but Smoker is not. What else? There was another character that like originated from one ocean, but came from Buggy. Yeah, Buggy. We see Buggy in the east. We assume he came from the east. Buggy wasn't from the east. Buggy, according to the Vivre card, was born on the Grand Line somewhere. We don't know where, but that was from the area, okay? So yeah, we got a lot of characters here, okay? Now, the first thing I arrived at to try to figure out what's the most dangerous of the four blues, or trying to rank the blues based on strength or whatever, was just take every character that has a bounty from that particular sea, and then add up their bounties, and which sea has the highest bounty. There you go. That was an easy conclusion. Well, it is and it isn't, because yes, I can go through each of the seas, and I can find all of the characters that have bounties, and I can add them up, even though I suck at math and probably might have messed up with the calculations a bit. Even using a calculator, I probably forgot somebody at some point. I can do that. However, there are so many characters that are guaranteed to have bounties that we don't know about yet. That's going to throw out the calculation a little bit. So, for example, just going through the North Blue really quick, Sachi and Penguin on Law's crew, they probably have bounties. We don't know what those are. Karasu, who's the Northern Revolutionary Army commander, you guarantee if Sabo has a bounty, he's a revolutionary. Karasu, all of the Revolutionary Army commanders are going to have bounties, but we don't know what Karasu's is. Thatch, Fossa, and Vista, all members of Whitebeard's crew, or former members of Whitebeard's crew, they're from the North Blue, but we don't know their bounties. Avara Pizarro and Ben Beckman, those are two like commanders for Yonko crews. You know, Avara Pizarro is on Blackbeard's crew. Ben Beckman is on Shanks's crew. We don't know their bounties. Doc Q, who's also a member of Blackbeard's crew, is from the North, but his bounty was 72 million. That was before the time skip, not currently when they're part of the Yonko fleet. So we have no idea how high his bounty is right now. Same thing with Van Auger. Burgess, I think, is actually from the Grand Line, so he's not going to be counted here. But the other members of Blackbeard's crew are probably a lot higher. Lafitte is from the West. We don't know what his new bounty is. Diaz Barrels, who's Diaz Drake's dad, he was a pirate for a long time. He was actually a Marine that defected to become a pirate. I don't think he was a double agent like Drake was, and so we don't know what his bounty was. We have Oars, the freaking continent polar that existed 500 years ago, this massive ancient giant that was a scourge upon the world. He existed 500 years ago. The Marines existed back then, so Oars probably had a bounty too, but we don't know what that is. Doflamingo's crew, we never knew what, like, Virgo's bounty would have been if Virgo, if it was found out that he was, like, masquerading as a vice admiral before he died and they gave him a bounty, like, Virgo's bounty would have been pretty high. We don't know Giola's bounty. We know Treble, Picas, and Diamantes and stuff, but that's my point. That's just for the North Blue. There's problems with this with every single one of the blues. Like, there's just a bunch of pirates and characters that we know for a fact are gonna have bounties, or they deserve to have bounties even if they were never issued. But we just don't know their numbers. But if you just want me to give you the straight numbers right now on the characters that we do know the bounties of, this is how it shakes down, okay? And you could probably arrive at this conclusion pretty quickly. I don't think I have to tell you this. Which blue do you think is going to be the strongest based on bounty numbers alone? Don't think too hard about it. Okay. It's the East Blue! No duh! It doesn't even take that long to figure that out, because Monkey D. Luffy, freaking Kaizoku Oni Orewanar with a bounty of 1.5 billion is from the East. Also, Zoro's from the East. And, oh yeah, by the way, Roger. Goldie freaking Roger, the king of the pirates, the highest known bounty for piracy in the entire world, 5,500,000,000 berries, is from the East. So with that being said, yeah, the fact that would end up as the highest bounty. Also, that's something to keep in mind is Yonko. Big Mom and Kaido, as well as Blackbeard, they were all born in the Grand Line, so they're not included here. So the East Blue is the highest because Roger's from there. I didn't include, like, because, you know, Roger's bounty is like 5,500,000,000 and then like a bunch of numbers after. I just rounded up or down just to keep it simple, okay? So the simplified number here, the rounded number here from all of the bounties from the East Blue is 8,876,000,000. Like I said, they're rounded, so there should be more complicated numbers beyond that. But we had Luffy, Sabo, Dadan and Higuma. We had Zoro, Usopp. We don't know Yasop's. Nami, Roger, of course. Mr. 2, Bon Clay, he's from the East. He had a bounty of 32 million. Django, Alvida, Kuro's from the East. Krieg is from the East. Krieg Angin. Bartolomeo, that's another 200 million. Gambia. Blue Jam and Porchemi, the pirates that were during the backstory with Ace and Sabo and Luffy in the Gray Terminal. Even Tomorrow Black, you know, the fake Straw Hat Luffy still had a bounty of 26 million. Arlong was not from the East. He was born in Fishman Island. See, that's where it gets complicated. That's where it gets complicated. Buggy was also not from the East, okay? So anyway, add it all up, that's over 8,876,000,000 just from the East Blue, okay? And so that's the highest bounty in that regard. And then the second is actually the West Blue. Also, not thinking about this too difficult, Shanks is from the West Blue. Shanks is actually aside from, well, I guess Roger wasn't considered a Yonko. Luffy is considered the 5th Yonko, but aside from those exceptions, Shanks is the only current Yonko from one of the blues, because Whitebeard, Blackbeard, Big Mom, and Kaido, they're all from the Grand Line, or the New World, some part of the Grand Line, right? That we know of. I mean, I guess we could always find out that Kaido was born in the North Blue or whatever. I mean, Oda could always reveal that, but so far that we know of, they were all born in the Grand Line. We know Big Mom was born in the Grand Line because, her parents, dumped her off on Elbaf, and so they probably had to live pretty close to Elbaf. Whitebeard was from Sphinx Island, so that's in the Grand Line. But anyway, yeah, so Shanks is from the West Blue, so that knocks it up by 4 billion immediately. So there's really not that many people in the West compared to the North and the East Blue. The North and the East Blue are the oceans that have been fleshed out the most in the story, that we actually know the most characters that are from there. But in the West Blue, we had Robin, we had Olvia, they had bounties, Moria, so the whole Thriller Bark crew, although we don't know Hogback, Absalom's, Perona's bounties. Jigoro was the general zombie that Zoro's shadow got put into, and he was a really strong warrior back in the day, and he was from the West, so he probably did some stuff back in the day. We got the Hapo Navy, because the Kano Kingdom is in the West. We have Don Chinzhou with a 542 million berry bounty. Sai with 210. Jozu, Kyriel, and Atmos from Whitebeard's crew were all from the West. We have Lafitte, 42 million, but that's probably higher now. San Juan Wolf, we have no idea what his bounty is. Beiji, Vito, and Gotti are all from the West. That's 350 just from Beiji, 95 from Vito, 90 from Gotti. Shanks, 4,048,900,000. Daz Bones, 75. Makita, who was Miss Valentine, that's 7.5 million. Brooke is, of course, from there, 83 million. Yorkie, Brooke's former captain on the Rumbar crew, was from there. We don't know his bounty, but that all comes out to around 6,023 million, roughly. Of course, Shanks had the big bump there, but he also had Don Chinzhou, Moria, and Beiji, and Robin to help out the boost as well. So there you go. That's number 2 is the West. So then we have number 3, the North Blue, which I assumed was like the strongest up until this point, right? We had Noland. Noland was just like a botanist, an adventurer. He might have had a bounty issued on his head for lying, maybe the king, but I think that was just the king of his kingdom that just wanted him dead, right? But Mont Blanc Cricket had a bounty of 25 million. Law has a bounty of 500. Bellamy 195. Sarkis 38. The Germa, that's something, that's what makes this difficult. We're just going by bounty numbers right now, but the Germa were a kingdom, and they didn't have bounties. Now they've kind of defected from that, and I think they're enemies of the world government now, so maybe they will be issued bounties now. Maybe next time we see them, Judge will have a bounty on his head, as well as all the other Vinsmoke siblings. And they all might be very, very high as well, considering the technology that the Germa possesses. But so far, we don't know what their bounties are, but they are still a very devastating kingdom and fighting force, right? Sanji, of course, has 330 million on his head. Basil Hawkins has 320. Caribou had 210. Koribo had 190. Doc Q had 72. Mashira had 23. Wellington, remember Wellington? I'm not even going to tell you who Wellington was. You could look it up on your own time. Wellington had 10. Drake had 220 million. His dad was Diaz Barrels, though. That was a Marine that also defected to become a pirate, although Drake ended up being a double agent this whole time for Sword. But his dad, Diaz Barrels, he probably had a high enough bounty. Miss Golden Week, or Marianne, she was from there, 29 million. With all those bounties added up, we have 2,635,000,000 from the North Blue. Like I said, if Doflamingo was included, that would shoot it up a little bit there. But yeah, the North Blue is number 3. And then finally, we have the South Blue. The South Blue, and it might just be because another thing to keep in mind, there's probably a lot more characters that are from the South or the West. It's just that Oda hasn't revealed their origins yet. Like, Kaido might have grown up in the South, for all we know, right? Probably not, but maybe. And if that's the case, the overall bounty of the South would shoot straight up, right? But just from the South Blue, we have Ace with 550, Foxy with 24. That's going to be the deciding factor. Eustace Kid, 470, Killer, 200. Heat, Wire, another members of Kid's crew that we don't know their bounties, what they are. They do have bounties, we just don't know what they are. Rakuyo, Haruta, and Blamenko are all members of Whitebeard's crew, don't know their bounties. Katarina Devon, Vasco Shot, Lucky Roo, those were a bunch of really high-ranking members of Yonko fleets right there. And so if we found out their bounties, that might make it go up way higher. Let's see. Shoujo, Frankie, of course, is... Well, Shoujo has a bounty of 36. Galdino has a bounty of 24, Mr. 3. Frankie, Super, has a bounty of 94. He was born in the South. Keep that in mind. That's a fact that doesn't come up very often. It was revealed that Robin was from the West, but we had a whole backstory with her in the West Blue at Ohara. Brooke talked a lot about him growing up in the West, and he was like the leader of a battle convoy, and that's, of course, where Thriller Bark was from, and that's also where the Rumbar crew is from, so that got referenced a lot, that Brooke came from the West Blue. Obviously, Luffy and Zoro and everybody came from the East Blue. Frankie only mentioned, I think, once that he was born in the South, and that was it, and that his parents abandoned him in Water 7. That's like all we get. But Frankie is from the South with 94. Jory Bonnie's there from 140 million. Gyro, the golden crab hand Gyro that was defeated by Horty Jones, that dude, remember that guy? Yeah, he was the guy that was trying to find the giant mechanical crab. He wasn't interested in the One Piece. He just wanted to try to find the giant mechanical crab, okay? And so he unfortunately died, but he had a 4-leaf clover sticking out of his head, so that's something. 73 million for Gyro. Suriman, 67 million. And then we have Kuma with 296 million. Of course, oh yeah, not even getting involved at the Warlords. I mean, their bounties are active again, and they've been reinstated and sometimes increased, but, you know, they were frozen for a long time, so who even knows if that's accurate. Plus, Kuma's a robot, so I don't even know double if that's even accurate anymore. Then we have Gem of the Border, or Mr. 5, for 10 million, and Heracles, but he was just a Heraclesan. He was just a botanist. He never had a bounty. But so just all the bounties from the South Blue, that's 1,984,000,000 rounded, okay? So we have 8.8 billion from the East, number 1, 6 billion from the West, 2.6 billion from the North, and then 1.9 billion from the South. That's just bounties, though, okay? So if you just want to be, like, just take the numbers alone, and that's not even accurate, because all the ones that we have no idea, but if you just want those numbers, there you go. However, now we also have to factor in Marines, because the Marines also come from some of the blues. Freaking the North Blue had Sakazuki and Kizaru right there, okay? The South Blue had Sengoku and Kuzan, for God's sakes. You know, East Blue, you had Garp. You had Garp. Oh, by the way, Dragon as well. The whole monkey family comes from the East, right? So there's that. So how do you balance that out, you know? If the... Oh, man, I should do a video on that. I just had that idea just now. What if the Marines were issued bounties? What if it was, like, flipped? And what if, like, freaking Aka Inu was out there being a pirate captain, like he was just born, you know, with his complete shift of justice, you know, and it's just like, okay, I'm now gonna be a pirate. How high would Aka Inu's bounty would be? Same character in terms of power. He still has the same amount of haki and the devil fruit power and everything like that, the Magu Magu no Mi, except he was a pirate captain. I should do that. Somebody probably has already done that before, but I don't know. I could make a video about that on what if the Marines had bounties, okay? But, you know, you're factoring all that stuff in, like just from the North, we had Blueno and Jabra from CP9, Full Body and Suru, the great tactician, Vice Admiral, she was from the North. You know, so how does that calculate out, right? If we're going with, and keep in mind, the East Blue, so the East Blue was the highest up until now. It has Garp, and if Garp had a bounty, it would be ridiculously high if he was a pirate, you know, Garp the Fist, plus Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. I would say that with those two included in the roster of East Blue characters, that would put us easily over the 10 billion threshold, because both Garp and Dragon, well, Dragon does have a bounty, we just don't know what it is. They would both be easily over 1 billion. You know, Dragon's bounty might even be the highest in the entire world, because it was stated Roger had the highest for piracy, but Dragon's not a pirate, he's a revolutionary. Dragon's bounty might be freaking 6 billion for all we know. And then Garp, if he was a pirate with the same power level he's had throughout his life, his bounty would probably be equal to, if not greater than, Whitebeard and Rogers themselves. Probably, I would say maybe around Whitebeard's level easy for Garp. So that's another 5 billion, right? Okay. If he was an active pirate captain, you know, laying waste to islands and stuff, definitely. Johnny and Yosaku, they were just bounty hunters. Bounty hunters don't come up a lot here, but if bounty hunters, they have power, they have strength. Daz Bones was a bounty hunter. He had a bounty of 75 million, though. The Hapo Navy, we have Chinjiao and Sai, but there's a bunch of other members of the Navy. That's the Hapo Navy. All of Whitebeard's crews, like Jozu, Curiel, Atmos, Rakuyo, Haruta, Flamenco, we don't know their bounties. But I would argue, with the inclusion of Garp and Dragon, plus you have Yasop, plus you have Zeph, plus you have Koshiro, who's Zoro's master, that are all from the East. I would argue the East Blue probably would still be the highest in terms of power level and bounty if these characters did have bounties. But then you also have to factor in the admirals from the other blues. By the way, in case you were wondering if this was going to end in an actual objective, like, all right, guys, I sat down and I crunched the numbers and I did everything, all the power scaling and everything, and I arrived at this conclusion. Yeah, I don't have that, okay? I don't have that. Although, I am envisioning now another video on top of the if Marines had bounties video. I'm picturing another video where we just all have this massive battle royale between everybody on this list. And I have no idea how I could possibly do that, right? Like, that would be such an overwhelming undertaking, I don't even know how you would do that. You see, it started with a simple question where I'm just sitting around last night thinking, what am I going to do on a video tomorrow? You know what? I'm going to do a video where I rank the 4 blues. That should be a fun one. Well, the East is the weakest, obviously, because it was said so. And then, well, let me look this up. And then, 2-3 hours later, and, the whole list, I'm like, I don't know. There's too many factors, okay? Oh, man. But yeah, a massive battle royale, I don't know. And to see where that would go. We wouldn't even, you know what? We wouldn't even be able to do that. We wouldn't even be able to do that right now anyway, because there's so many characters here that we, on top of not even knowing their bounties, we don't even know how they fight or what their fullest extent of battle is. Like Katarina Devon and Vasco Shot. We don't know their bounties. We know they're strong. They're leading ships on Blackbeard's crew, but we don't know how Katarina Devon fights. Plus, she has a devil fruit now. How does that change how she normally fights? Vasco Shot. We know he's drunk. That's basically all we know about Vasco Shot, right? So, how does he fight, right? Yeah. So, with all that being included, we couldn't even do a battle royale right now. We'd have to do, like, so many unknown factors, like Vasco Shot from the South Blue versus Jozu from the West Blue. Go ahead. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can if you want to. You can tell me who you think would win, but Vasco Shot is such an unknown, and we don't even know where Jozu's at right now, right? He's missing an arm. He's got the diamond fruit. We don't know all the techniques he's got with the diamond fruit. Maybe he trained with hockey in the last 2 years, so we don't know their bounties, so we can't even do a basic, like, okay, Vasco's bounty versus Jozu's bounty. We don't know either. So, yeah, how would you do that? Here's another one. I'll give you. Let's do Ben Beckman from the North versus freaking, Yasop from the East. That's that. They're both on the same crew, but they're from different oceans, so they gotta fight. All right? And they're both marksmans. How would that go? One more, and I guess we'll get going, because like I said, I don't have a final conclusion here. All I'm here to do is just add up the bounties, show you some reference tables, make a joke about chess, and then just, I don't know, go eat a sandwich or something, because I didn't eat my lunch yet. I'm really hungry, actually. It's like 1 o'clock. I gotta go eat. But anyway, one more. Oh, here's a good one. We're thinking too much about this. Let's talk about other characters. So, Tsurume, the Kraken from the North Blue. It was confirmed in a Viva card. He's from the North Blue. He's from the North Pole specifically. But Tsurume, the Kraken, versus, I don't know, not San Juan Wolf, because I think San Juan would, beat the shit out of the Kraken. But let's say Daz Bones. Tsurume from the North versus Daz Bones from the West. How would that go? I mean, Daz has the blades. Did he train with it? He probably did the last 2 years. He's probably got hockey on the Supa Supa no Mi. That'd be pretty cool. Hockey spiral hollow death blades, you know, as he called them. The spiral hollow, that technique, like the drill he used against Zoro. Imagine that against the Kraken. I would probably put money on Daz Bones there, honestly. But that just goes to show it's not just pirates and marines. You got other characters like and creatures in some regard, like Sarume, Ors, who's an ancient giant. The Germa that's kind of like in this area in between like royalty and pirates. You know, Noland. Noland wasn't a pirate. He wasn't a rampaging kraken or a giant. He wasn't a marine. Noland was just a botanist, but he was a badass botanist. He could slice sea kings in half and shit. All right, so you don't want to mess with Noland. Noland versus Van Augur. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to. And that's enough hypotheticals for one day. I think our hypothetical count has reached its... There's too much going on here, right? But hey, tell you what. If you want to take some random characters from these reference tables and pit them against each other, this seems like something that I could do at the very, very, very end of One Piece. Maybe not even at the very end of One Piece, because I'm imagining at the end of One Piece, we're still not going to know a lot of this information. We're not going to find out everybody's bounty at the end of the story. We're not going to find out like how every single character on this list fought, you know, the fullest extent of their abilities. But after the One Piece manga ends, there might be a continuation in terms of like a second series anime, and that might explore some of this stuff. Who knows? Like Boruto with Naruto. Like in Naruto, for example, like I was surprised in the little bit of Boruto that I've actually read that they brought back Ao from the Mist Village, and I was like, okay, cool, so now we learn a little bit more about Ao, you know. Okay, so they might do that, you know, like the freaking One Piece anime ends, and then a few years later, or a few months later, whatever, they do the second series of One Piece, and we like have a backstory involving Ors or something, and we see how Ors did stuff 500 years ago. That would be what I wanted it to be, just the histories of the One Piece world, just expand upon all the lore that happened. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track here. Point is, if we're just going by bounties that we know of, it goes East Blue, West Blue, North Blue, South Blue. And then everything else is a big what if. So, yeah, it was a simple question, but it probably is going to end in the largest what if scenario that I have ever tackled on this channel. And that's just how it goes. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This will be Tekking and Barry and Cloneberry signing out. Let me see if I can get out of this check here. Okay, so I moved the queen here. And so I don't think there's any way to... Wait, I think this was a checkmate the whole time. Hold on. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I can get out of this. Well, no, because I can move the king here. But then I can just... Oh, wait, no! Oh, we're back in action! Okay, hold on a second. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I couldn't have done that because the knight is right here. So, okay, yeah, this is probably checkmate. All right. Bye, everyone.